Hey guys, what is up? It's time to talk about Hood Outlaws and Legends and if you should buy it or not. So, Hood Outlaws and Legends is a PvPvE medieval heist game, and I know that sounds pretty crazy and pretty out there, but I promise you it's actually a pretty fun concept. If they make some tweaks here and there, we might have something on our hands here. So at launch, we have a total of 4 characters to choose from. You have the Ranger, the Hunter, the Brawler, and the Mystic. Typically like healer, more of like a close combat melee character. Then you have like a ranged, like bow and arrow character, and so forth and so forth. And the goal of the game is a heist initially. Sometimes it reminds me of like a Grand Theft Auto heist, but if you were playing that heist against another team. Because there's 2 different teams trying to get to that one goal, that one treasure. So the game has its 3 sections. When you start the game, the first goal is to steal the key from the Warden. The Warden is like a powerhouse that you want to stay clear from. The Warden can one-shot any character that he comes across. It can only be downed by a massive explosion or like massive hit that will just like one-tap him or like incapacitate him in like one big blow. Generally given from the Ranger, because the Ranger's ultimate is shooting like a giant explosive arrow that can just knock him out and sedate him. You can't kill the Warden, but you can just sedate him until his cooldown comes back up, down, and he gets back up, but you can just keep him down and out of the fight while you do your thing. You want to stay clear. I'm telling you right now, stay clear of this man, okay? He's brutal. If he gets his hands on you, it's over. Your life flashes before your eyes. He'll stomp you in your chest. It's a bad scene. But anywho, so the first stage of the game is stealing the key from the Warden that gets into the vault. Now, there's also 2 different teams at once competing for the same goal. So it's not like you're fighting for 2 different treasures and the team with the fastest clear time wins. No, you guys are both fighting for the same exact treasure. So same Warden, same key, same vault, which is a very interesting concept because, you're both trying to steal the same loot, the same end goal, the same end game. You're trying to take that same treasure and, you're conflicting and fighting along the way, which can be very difficult at times. So you're both going for the same treasure and you're stealing that key as the first step. The second stage is to open the vault and get the treasure. That's stage 2, and then once you get the treasure, there is 3 extraction points on the map. You have to bring the treasure to one of those extraction points and then wrench it onto your ship to escape. But here's the crazy part about the game. Before we dive into the characters, the classes, the imbalancedness of it, because this game is definitely not that balanced. They have a lot of work to do. Like I said, this game has promise, but the characters need some reworking and some balancing. Some patches need to go down because I've played a few hours of the game, and you definitely can see there's a pecking order of what character is probably going to be the go-to or the best one at this point. And I think in the future, I would want to have all the characters kind of be more well-rounded, so it's not just you're picking like the same 2 characters every time. But let's get back on track. So the interesting thing about like when you're stealing the treasure, so there's like a bar you have to fill up when you're like wrenching your treasure onto your ship, and both teams have access to this bar. So like when you get to the point in stage 3 when you're stealing the treasure, both teams can steal the treasure at that same extraction point, and there's a bar that you have to wrench up to get like progress to the end of it, and when it gets to the end, you get the treasure. But there's milestones along the bar that give you like extra gold for hitting those milestones. Maybe about, let's just say about 6. There's 6 milestones that you can hit while wrenching the meter up that gives your team like more gold to take home along the way. But the crazy thing is, so say like you're at stage 6 and there's only one more little stage to go for you to win the game, like one more wrench and you like win the match. So if a team just comes along, kills your whole team, and then you have that one little like extraction section to go to win, they can just wrench it and they take the treasure and win. So like someone can just literally just steal the game from under you at the last second, which I guess it's in true outlaw fashion that someone can just come through and like steal your hard work when you put all the work in. Because it's nuts, because of course you get rewarded with the gold from the milestones that you already progressed. So even if you lose, you have still gotten the gold that you progressed through for the milestones. But like your team could have done the whole bar up until the last section, and one team could just come in and finish it, and then they steal the whole match. It definitely makes it interesting because you gotta bring your toes at all times, but it almost feels so like dirty. This one could just like have you do all the work. You can open the vault, you can get the key, you can take the treasure all the way to the extraction point, you can wrench it all the way till like there's 1 second left. Someone just claps your cheeks, and then they do it for the last second, and then they win the whole match. You know what I mean? It's so dirty of a mechanic, in a game like this, you know? I would love to maybe see if there's 2 different extraction points, one for my team, one for the enemy team. I think that would work a lot better if like say if it's like a tug of war situation where one extraction point is here and the other one is here, and one is for my team, one is for the enemy team, and like they can kill us and then take the treasure to their side, you know, to wrench it, and then their progress will stay the same, and then we'll have our own separate progress, and then we can like take it back and forth. Yes, that will make the matches last a lot longer, but to aid that, you can just have a time limit, and once the time limit runs out, whoever has the most progress with the treasure could win. You know, there's ways around that, but the fact that you can just easily just let someone do all the work because both teams share the same progress bar when you're wrenching the treasure onto your ship, which doesn't make much sense when you think about it, but both teams share the same progress of wrenching when it's done. So someone can just come along and do it for 1 second at the end and just take all the like the glory. Is something they can work on. You know what I mean? It's something they can patch up. A lot of games have patched game modes, you know, and made little tweaks to them. I think my idea would work a lot better if there's 2 different extraction points, or maybe 4. Each team has 2 each, and they're spread across the map, and they have their own separate extraction meters. Like I said, I know this sounds like a very complicated game when I'm explaining it to you right now, but once you play it, you'll understand a lot more what I'm talking about, and you'll get a lot more frustrated. Now, speaking of frustrated, let's get to the characters, guys, because this has got to be the most frustrating part of it, is the unbalancing of the characters, man. It's not even fair. And you're definitely gonna notice that as a new player, because there is no skill-based matchmaking at all, like not one bit. So you can like be fresh on the game, just downloaded, fresh out of the academy, level 1, and you can load into a match after you've done the tutorial or whatever. And by the way, the tutorial does not prepare you at all for like the wrecking you're gonna receive online on PvP. Once the actual people come into play, it's a whole different ball game. You know, you think you got your shit figured out against the bots in the tutorial. You're like, yeah, I'm hitting all my shots. I'm Jason Bourne. I'm Hawkeye. I'm hitting all these arrow shots. Yeah, nah. Once you get to a real match, it's so different and so much harder and so much more brutal. Not only because the players are more skilled, but like the cooldown time that you stay dead for, that increases the more and more you die. Like, you know, you're staying out of the game for 10 to 20 seconds each time you die, and the deaths can happen so quick that it just kind of can take you out of it. And I know a lot of players can get turned off of a game like this, where, you know, if there's no skill-based matchmaking and they put it against sweats immediately, it takes the fun of it away from it, because you're just kind of losing and dying constantly to better players who have the game more figured out, and you're not really having a chance to find out if you like this game or not yet, because you can't really you know, get your feet wet at all. So I definitely think that's a smaller patch they can do as well, just to add skill-based matchmaking. You know, in a game like this, it's very important because there is a big skill curve. It's very hard to figure out these characters, the stamina meter, the assassinations, all that could be very hard on new players to kind of adjust to, especially because it jumps so drastically from like the bots you were training against to the real players who are sweating on you. But speaking of sweating on you, let's talk about the characters themselves. So there's 4 classes at day 1 launch. I do expect them to add newer characters, like, you know, every couple months we'll probably get a new legend or outlaw to play as. But the thing is, this is a very tricky thing for them to handle, because they can either do this the right way or the EA way. And I say the EA way because if they make these characters like that come out later on, like have to be paid for, like, you know, you have to like buy them with real money, I think that's a very big misstep. Because if the characters are like, you know, game changing or better than the other characters, you know, now it's pay to win, you know, and that's a very slippery slope. I think the best bet for them is to make more revenue, is to charge for like skins, for weapons or outfits or stuff like that. Because if you start charging for new characters and these new characters are broken or like, you know, meta breaking, then it's gonna be a problem. Most players are not gonna want to spend additional money for characters just to keep up with other players when they already pay for the base game. Now, yes, this game is only $30, so it's not the full price of a initial release game like the $60 games that come out normally, so you are saving there. But I mean, this game shouldn't be $60 anyways, because if it was $60, I wouldn't be playing it at all, and I wouldn't recommend you to play it if it was $60. It's not worth $60 at this point. It very much feels like a beta game when you're playing it. There's not much, maybe about 5 maps and only the 4 characters to choose from. There's still a lot of bugs to work out. So $30 was the perfect price point for the game in this state. You definitely wouldn't want to pay any more than $30 for this game. But being that it is, let's continue to talk about it. So we have the 4 classes. We have the Ranger, we have the Mystic, the Brawler, and then we have the Hunter. Typical to your any game like this class. One's like a long range, one's mid, one's close, and one's more like assassinations and stealth. So you have like the Robin Hood character that uses only arrows. You have the brawler guy that has like a hammer and gets up close and personal with his hits. You have a guy with a flail that kind of does mid-range stuff. And then you have a girl, Marianne, who just does like stealth and like assassinations and quick movements and stuff like that. Let's get it out of the way right now. Marianne is definitely the most broken character in the game. And it's apparent. You feel it. Like you know that she's the most broken character in the game. Like once you play it, like you will die to her so many times and so quickly that it's insane because of the assassination quirk that the game has. So in order to assassinate somebody, you just got to be crouched and behind them to just assassinate somebody. You're like just crouched and behind them when pressing X, or that's for Xbox, and whatever the respective button is for your controller. Just pressing that assassination button while crouched behind them will pull off a one-shot kill on them. They'll just die instantly. You'll do like a little animation, and they'll just die instantly. And the funny thing is too, while you're in the middle of this animation, you can't be hit by anything else. Like you can be in the middle of assassinating somebody else on the enemy team, and the enemy team can't hit you while you're in it. You have like an iframe, like you have an invincibility frame while you're pulling off an assassination, and it's just so broken. Especially once you see it in game, she's very fast-paced movement. She's very stealthy. Her ultimate is becoming invisible, and she can just assassinate you like so quickly. Just pull it off very fast, and just kind of flank behind you and just do it very quickly. And it's very repetitive, and you will die a lot to it if you're not playing her. She also has like a little tri crossbow thing that she can shoot from her wrist. Like a wrist rocket thing. It's like a little crossbow on her wrist that she can fire. Shoots like a triple shot, and it's very fast and more better than Robin's arrow, honestly. So it's like she already has the range and the close-up assassinations covered. So it's very hard to beat her, and you definitely can feel that like in the game. Like the balancing is a joke. Now the other character, you have the brawler, which is John. I would say he's not the best character. He's the easiest character to play, pick up and play, because he's just a typical melee character. Like you walk in with a hammer, you can just hit everything. His ultimate's like going beast mode, and you like have unlimited stamina, and you can just like hit things constantly and go berserk on people. Like he does massive damage. But the funny thing is, like his counter pick would be Marianne, which is the girl I just talked about. Like because he's so big and sluggish that you can just kind of dance around him and just assassinate him constantly. So it's like he's the most useful character on the team though, and the easiest to play because he can lift up the fences. So when you're playing, like you're in like these castle like environments, and this is when the PvPvE comes into it, because when like the bots come around, and if they see your like team or anybody on your team, the game goes into high alert. So like they'll like all come out to try and kill you. They'll lock all the gates, so you can't move on to different areas, and they'll just try and swarm you. But the cool thing about John is the brawler, he can lift up the gates and then have your team flank through it and move on. And I'm telling you, once you get to end game, like late game situation, when the extraction is happening of the treasure, you need John more than ever, because sometimes you're not spawning close enough to the extraction point to even make a difference. They'll start wrenching that thing and get their treasure out of there, and you're spawning way too far away to go push them. And getting those shortcuts with defenses with John is so crucial. So I always tell everybody, make sure you have a John on your team. You may not be the one that wants to play him, but he is so crucial. Like when you don't have one, you definitely feel it. Now, speaking of the extraction point, not only are there extraction points to take the treasure, but there's capture points on the map. And the capture points are just like zones, like that you can spawn at. Think of, if you ever played Battlefront, think of the original Battlefronts on the PlayStation, where you can like capture points, and that's where your team is spawning, or you can like capture them back and then prevent your enemy team from spawning at all in those areas. So there's 3 capture points on the map, and you can capture those points to help you spawn closer to the extraction point or closer to the vault, or wherever you want to start spawning. And these points become so much more vital, especially towards the end game, when you're especially if the extraction point is like super far across the map, away from where you're spawning initially, and you have to go so far out of your way. You need those closer, capture points to spawn and closer to keep getting back in the action to try and stop them from taking the treasure. And a lot of good teams will just make sure they extract. They'll have 2 extracting, and they'll have other like maybe one guy like guarding the 2 extracting, and they'll have like someone else running around capturing the zone to stop you from like getting close to spawn in there. So it's like a really good tactic. But I'm telling you, having John on the team is so important to like lift those fences, to get you even more shortcuts to get there faster, to stop an extraction or to extract further for your team. Because like I said, the extraction bar is the same for both teams. Like, you know, which we're working on to take the treasure is for both teams. Now, yes, you get bonus gold if your team hits those milestones first, or it hits the milestone in general for the bar that both teams share. But you're sharing the same bar, so don't ever feel like you're out of the game. You can always come in at the last second and then steal the win by getting the last little chunk of extraction done yourself. Yes, you're getting less gold than you would have if you had done the work yourself, but I think it's a fair trade-off because you didn't do the initial work. Like I said, I do think that's a flawed concept to have, like, you do most of the work on your team and then an enemy team could just come and just steal it at the last second. It is a very flawed concept, and it could definitely lead to some frustrating moments when you did everything like you could, like, to progress it, and then someone just steals it at the end. You know, I think they could have handled that a lot better by having separate extraction points, separate bars, and it would have added a little bit more of a tug of war situation to the fight. Of like, you both are just like trying to fight for this treasure. Yes, it would have made the fights a lot longer, but I think it would have just made it more pleasant and more appealing in the long run. So now we'll talk about the rest of the classes. That covered John and that covered Marianne. That's the Hunter and the Brawler classes. I think those two are the most viable we have at the moment. Then you have Robin. So Robin, I think, could be like the most insane character in the game, but he's hard to play. That's the thing about him. Like, he's the most satisfying and the most fun, but he's insanely hard to play because when you play him through the tutorial, when you're shooting, he's the bow and arrow character. He's pretty much Robin Hood, stealing from the rich, giving to the poor. And you have your bow and arrow, your trusty bow and arrow, and you're just wrecking headshots on people. I mean, you're like feeling like Hawkeye out there. You're Green Arrow, baby. You're just like headshotting everybody. And it feels so satisfying because the headshots are a one shot. You know, when you hit an enemy with it, even the real life PvP players, if you hit them with a headshot with the bow, you're one tapping them, and it feels so satisfying to get that off. I kid you not, the few times I was able to snag a few headshots, but it's fewer than not you're missing it because it's so hard to hit them, especially moving targets, players who are womboing around, dashing back and forth, you know, charging right at you. It's a very small hit marker for this arrow, and it's very hard to hit. Like I said, if you're cracked, if you're very good at the game, if you master Robin and you know how to hit these shots precisely, you're moving in there like Hawkeye, you're a beast in the booth, then yes, Robin might be the best character in the game if you're that good. But it's very hard to be that good. I'd say 1% of players will be able to be that good to hit these shots consistently. Because if you don't, like, you're getting raw dogged. Because like most of the other enemies can just run up on you, and I promise you, Robin's close range game is non-existent. It's horrible. He does like little to no damage. And you would just get like bodied by Took or by John. Took is the healer class, and John is the brawler class. And even Marianne, which is the hunter class, will also work you close range as well. She's much faster, but can move around much quicker and just will be all over you. So your best bet is to just be hitting these constant headshots with the bow and arrow. And like I said, from my experience, it is very difficult to do it. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible. Of course, I know these sniper sweats from COD or from whatever can train themselves to hit every headshot possible. Who knows, you know? But I will say off the gate, Robin will be one of the hardest ones to pick up and learn because you're gonna get raw dogged up close. So you depend on hitting these shots from mid to afar. And the crazy thing is, you also only have 7 shots until you have to get more ammo. You can only hold 7 arrows at a time, so that means you have a very small window to hit these shots. If you're missing, if you're whiffing a lot, and the enemy's getting closer and closer, and now you're out of arrows, you know, you're screwed. But the thing is too, you also need Robin on the team, because he is one of the only few characters that can disable the Warden. Now, like I said before, the Warden is like the chief, of the castle. He's the man, and he will one-shot anybody. And in order to even progress to extract, you need him out of the way because he will be on your toes constantly trying to stop you guys from taking the treasure. And Robin's explosive arrow is one of the few things that can knock him on his ass and buy you guys more time. So, of course, you do need a Robin on the team. I do play Robin mostly because he's so much fun. I'm a glutton for punishment. Like I said, it's so much satisfying to hit these shots, and it's definitely a lot harder. Now, let's move on to the final character, Took, the Mystic. Instead of calling him Mystic, he's the healer, typical healer. But, I mean, it's hard to call him a healer because, I mean, of course he heals, but his healing ability is only from his ultimate. So, of course, you might be able to pop off an ultimate maybe like 2 times a game, maybe 3 if you're lucky. So, I mean, you won't be healing your teammates as much as you would like to. And he's more of a mid-range user with a flail. What makes Took a lot harder to play, though, is because when you're using his flail, you would think it has a lot more AoE than it does. The flail doesn't hit as precise as you would want it to, and sometimes you gotta like be just right to even get it off. Of course, you can use the wide range attack to kind of stumble people and get some good hits, but the direct assault, like, it's a lot harder to hit than you might think. When you're using it at first or seeing someone else use it, it looks a lot easier, but I promise you it's a lot harder to handle than it looks. And that's the main thing that holds him back. But I think, the perfect outcome is to have a balanced team. Of course, a balanced team of all the characters will probably work the best. And I think that's weird to say. But in this game, it's interesting because you can have a whole team pick with the same character. And once you load into a match, you'll notice that. Like, no one wants to play anybody else but Robin and Marianne. You'll see a few Johns and a few Tukes here, a few Brawlers and a few Mystics here and there. But everybody wants to play Robin, and everybody wants to play the Hunter Marianne, the assassination girl. And I think she's definitely like the most highest tier character in the game. You can tell it immediately. So everybody wants to be on her. And Robin, everybody wants to play Robin because everybody wants to be that dude who's hitting the headshots. You know what I mean? Be that guy who's cracked, one-shotting everybody. But everybody's not that guy. But you'll have lobbies where you'll join into a match and the whole squad will be playing as Robin, or the whole squad will be playing as Marianne, and you're just like, this is not a balanced team at all. Like, because I'm telling you, John, like, he may not be the first pick you want to go with, but end game, he's going to be the thing that saves your life. Get you back into the fight quicker. Those shortcuts to go through the fences is so vital. I'm telling you, John is definitely a person you want to have on the team. You definitely can make it work without picking Tuke on the team, but I definitely think endgame you would want to have a John on the squad somewhere. If I can recommend anything, definitely make sure you have at least one John with you. What I've noticed, it definitely comes in handy, because if you can't open the gates, if the castle's on lockdown and you can't get past the gates, you have to go all the way around sometimes, and it could take like an extra minute, 30 seconds to a minute to get all the way around, and that's a big chunk of the game that your team is missing out on because you couldn't lift this fence. So I think John is definitely crucial, at least at one on the team. But I know you sweats are gonna want to pick Marianne and Robin. No one's gonna want to switch. I know. I've played the game for hours now. I've seen the lobbies. Everybody wants to play Marianne and Robin. And I do too. but I'll take the fall and play John sometimes if the team needs it. Because, you're going to see that a lot. And like I said, this game has potential, though. It just came out. It's only a few days old. I definitely think they'll be adding new characters, new maps, and maybe even some new game modes. This game has options to not only be a heist game. They can have team deathmatch. They can have maybe capture the flag as game mode. This game will slide easily into those game archetypes and work well. So I definitely think they can take this game far. It's only a matter of, how much time and how much work they put in with the updates. Because if the game doesn't update itself frequently enough, it can die out quick. I can see this game, losing speed quickly and just being left behind if it doesn't keep itself updated every couple of months to keep the players engaged with new game modes, new maps, and a few new legends every new month to try out. Like I said, please, if anyone who's working with this game is watching this, or you guys in the chat can spread the word, please don't make this game pay to win. If you make the new characters have to be bought with real money, of course most players or a fraction of the players could do so, but a lot of the players that you have playing this would feel alienated, not wanting to spend extra money to keep in the meta, and you shouldn't have to. I feel like each character should be viable in their own way, and not just have one character be the shine. And at this point, I will say there's a few characters that are in the forefront that they need to buff a few of the other ones to make them have more options, to not just be just dead weight in certain situations. So this game definitely needs work, and like I told you guys, I wouldn't recommend it if it was $60, and that's a statement I will take with me and I'm standing by. If it was a $60 game, I would tell you not to buy it. This would be you should not be buying this. But since it's $30 and there is some fun to be had, and there is some potential, a lot of potential, I will say buy it. This is you should buy Hood, Outlaws, and Legends. But for me, the main reason of it's a $30 game, and you're getting a good amount of value for $30. $60, it's not enough there. It still feels more of like a beta, where they're still testing the waters, still trying to figure stuff out. We're like the test dummies, but $30, you'll have plenty of fun with your friends. You'll have some cool heist moments, and you might, get a few kills. Alright guys, if you tried the game, let me know in the comment section below, guys. Did you like it? Who are you playing? And, oh my god, I already could read the comments. I'm Robin all day, baby. Because I'm telling you, Robin is by far the most fun. You'll have the most fun playing Robin, but you'll get punished also the most. But like I said, let me know, guys. But also make sure you subscribe, guys. Come on, we're moving, guys. I'm dropping reviews of this, that, and the third. Buying games day one for you guys. So make sure you guys show some love, drop a like, and subscribe just to support the channel, guys. And also, you can watch me live on Twitch where I stream every single day. I'll be playing a lot of Hood, Outlaws, and Legends on the stream, getting a little better with some of these characters, and just kind of diving more into the game. So if you guys want to watch it there and get more of a hands-on impression with me, or even play some games with me, let me know in the comment section below, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.